When Taehyung finally pulled back, his breath came out ragged. He stared down at her, his hands still tangled in her hair. Yren looked up at him, her eyes wide, her lips parted in shock. Her face was red, and her chest rose and fell with quick, shallow breaths. And no one spoke for a moment. The crowd was frozen, silent except for a few camera clicks. Ryan stood at the edge of the crowd, his fists clenched at his sides, face red with anger. Ryan, you bastard. You think you can just take whoever you want? She was my girlfriend. His voice cracked on the last word, and someone snickered in the back. Then Muse's jaw tightened. He stood, brushing dirt from his knee, his voice cold. Muse, what the hell was that? Taehyung didn't look at him. His gaze stayed locked on Yn. Taehyung, don't ever let another guy kneel in front of you. Yn blinked, her voice shaky. Yn, you can't tell me who to talk to. Tiffany crossed her arms over her chest, her lip curling in disgust. Tiffany, seriously? Yn, first you break Ryan's heart, and now you're letting this playboy treat you like a toy in front of everyone. How pathetic can you be? Her words landed like slaps. Yn's eyes darted to Tiffany's face, then away, too raw to reply. Her eyes filled with tears, but this time it wasn't only anger, it was everything: hurt, shame, confusion. Muse, Yn, you don't have to let him. She turned to Muse quickly, her voice cracking. Yn, I'm sorry, I can't right now. Before Muse could say another word, she turned and ran, pushing through the circle of students. Taehyung didn't follow her. His hands were clenched so tight they shook. He didn't even notice when Muse stepped close, glaring into his face. Muse, you think you own her? You don't. Taehyung didn't answer. He just stood there, staring at the spot where Yn had disappeared, his chest aching in a way he didn't know how to name. Muse, she's not the kind of girl you can play with. Taehyung finally tore his gaze from Yn's fading back and met Muse's eyes. Muse, the girls who run after you, they want to be used. But Yn, she just wants to be loved. For the first time, Taehyung had no comeback, no smirk, no defense. His throat felt tight, he swallowed hard and turned away without a word, shoving past Ryan, who tried to grab his arm. Ryan, coward, you regret this, he shouted from behind, but Taehyung didn't look back. He didn't know how long he walked before he realized he'd wandered into a quiet neighborhood. Something pulled at his attention, a soft giggle. On the sidewalk across the street, a young father held out an ice cream cone to his little daughter, who looked no older than 4. She squealed in delight, hugging the man's leg. When he crouched to wipe chocolate from her cheek, she kissed his temple and laughed. Then suddenly a bicycle wobbled around the corner and knocked into the man's shoulder. He stumbled back, dropping the ice cream. The little girl's eyes filled with tears as she ran to him, her tiny hands cupping his face to look for injuries. Asking her father if he's okay while sniffling, the man smiled despite the scrape on his arm, telling her not to cry, that he's fine. She kissed the scrape carefully, then hugged him so tight her pigtails bounced. He stood and lifted her onto his shoulders, and she clung to his hair, laughing again as he promised her a new ice cream. They walked away, sharing the last bites of the melted cone. Taehyung watched them, something strange squeezing in his chest. For a fleeting second, he imagined himself there, a little hand in his, a small voice calling him daddy. The idea scared him more than anything ever had. He looked down at his empty hands, his smile faded. Yn sat alone on her bed, hugging her knees to her chest. Her phone lay next to her, buzzing every few minutes. She didn't pick it up. Her thoughts were messy. She hated him for kissing her like that in front of everyone. She hated herself for letting it feel good. She hated how his voice made her feel safe and broken at the same time. Slowly, she wiped her eyes and turned her phone off. Tomorrow, she thought, she would go to the hospital and end this nightmare for good, but a small voice inside her kept whispering that she would never be the same. Taehyung sat at the edge of his bed, elbows resting on his knees, hands tangled in his hair. The room was dark, silent except for the ticking of the wall clock and the chaos screaming inside his chest. He couldn't stop thinking about her, Yn, the way she looked when she laughed with music, carefree, warm, glowing. Taehyung, why? He whispered to himself. Why does it feel like someone ripped something out of me? He clenched his jaw, biting back, the sting rising to his eyes. Why did it burn so much? Why did it hurt when she didn't look at him the way she used to? When she walked away today, it was more than rejection. It felt like losing a piece of himself. He ran a hand down his face and let out a shaky sigh, staring up at the ceiling. Taehyung, why can't I stand the idea of her with someone else? He didn't want to think about Musa, or the kiss, or the way Yn didn't kiss him back. Did she hate him now? Was he too late? Then his thoughts trailed back to earlier, the moment in the street, the little girl jumping up and down when her father bought her an ice cream. Her joy was so pure. She wrapped her arms around her dad's neck and kissed his cheek. A soft smile pulled at Taehyung's lips. For a moment, he imagined himself like that, lifting a little girl in his arms, feeling her tiny arms wrap around his neck. A daughter, Taehyung, our child. The smile faded. Taehyung, what am I thinking? He mumbled, his heart tightening. A baby. With Yn. Could he do that? Would it really be so bad? He looked at the time. Midnight was close. Tomorrow, they will abort the baby tomorrow. He laid down, staring at the ceiling, eyes glassy. Then the ache hit. That kind of ache you can't name, only feel. Like something inside was tearing quietly. His chest grew heavy. His throat tightened. He blinked once, twice, but the burning stayed. Taehyung, Yn. Just whispering her name cracked something open inside. He turned his face into the pillow, and for the first time in a long time, Taehyung felt like crying. Yn curled up in the corner of her bed, knees hugged to her chest, face buried in a tear-soaked pillow. The lights were off, the window cracked open. Outside, the city hummed softly, but inside her room, inside her heart, it was a battlefield. She hadn't touched her dinner. She couldn't. Every bite felt like betrayal. Her hand instinctively slid down to her belly, still flat and quiet, yet suddenly carrying the weight of everything. A tiny life, so small, so silent, so innocent, her baby. A fresh wave of tears spilled as she whispered, Yn, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The mother inside her was screaming, clawing, begging, keep the baby, run far away, escape the noise, the shame, the eyes that will judge. She imagined it holding the baby for the first time. Would it have Taehyung's eyes, her smile? Would it giggle when she tickled its belly? Would it call her mama in a tiny soft voice? She choked on a sob. That dream was so beautiful it hurt. But then another voice inside her, the daughter, the responsible one, rose like steel through the softness. Don't be selfish, Yn. You'll hurt your parents. You'll destroy their trust. You'll ruin everything you've worked for. You're only 18. She wiped her eyes. Even though the tears kept coming, her heart was breaking in half. But this pain, she told herself, was necessary. Yn, I can't throw my future away, she murmured, staring blankly at the ceiling. Taehyung's face flickered in her mind, his touch, his voice, the way he used to look at her like she was the only one that mattered. But now, he wasn't ready. He didn't even fight for her today. He didn't come running after her, and that hurt more than anything. Her hand gripped the blanket. A part of her wanted to believe he'd change his mind, that tomorrow, he'd come and tell her he's ready, that they could be a family, that she could keep the baby. But she didn't let herself hope, because hope was dangerous. Hope could kill her resolve. No matter how deeply the mother in her wept tonight, the other part, the strong, stubborn girl who was determined not to let a boy break her, was louder. She would stay firm, even if it ripped her soul in two. Taehyung lay on his bed, staring at the dark ceiling as the hours crawled by. His room was silent, but his mind roared with chaos.Yn's face, the test kit, her tears, the way she walked away from him shattered, yet holding herself together. He turned to his side, then again to his back. And no matter how many times he shifted, the ache didn't fade. In fact, it only got worse. What was this feeling? He'd been angry, yes, confused, terrified, but now it felt like something was missing, like a part of him had been ripped away the moment Yn left. He pressed a hand to his chest. There it was again, that sharp, searing pain, right in the center, like something heavy was pressing down on his ribs, like breathing was suddenly a chore. Why did it hurt so much? Why did her silence cut deeper than any insult? Taehyung, Yn, he whispered into the night. Her name was the only thing that soothed him, yet it also made him feel like breaking. He sat up slowly, running a hand through his hair. The clock glowed in the dark, 4:42 a.m. He hadn't slept a second. And then, something clicked. All this time, he'd been trying to make sense of the fear, the anger, but underneath all of that, one truth had been buried too deep to see. He is in love with her. He didn't know exactly when it happened, Maybe it was in the way she scolded him for being careless with food, or how she always tucked her hair behind her ear when she got nervous, or maybe when she smiled like the world wasn't so bad. But it didn't matter when. What mattered was, he loved her, and now, she was planning to get rid of their baby, his baby. He stood up suddenly, heart pounding. Taehyung. No, he couldn't let it happen. He wouldn't. He needed them both, not just as a responsibility. Not just as a mistake to fix, but as the only two things that made his world worth waking up for. He would go to her, he would beg if he had to, he would fall to his knees, but he wouldn't let her walk into that clinic, not when he finally knew what it meant to love. The sky was dull and gray, a quiet stillness hung in the air like the world was holding its breath. Yn left home silently, not sparing a glance behind. No breakfast, no goodbye, just her and the storm growing in her chest. Her parents were still asleep. Maybe that was for the best. Her hands trembled as she clutched her bag. Inside it her phone, a water bottle, and the appointment slip. That was all she carried, but her heart carried much more. 5 minutes later, ding dong, Sua dragged herself to the door, still in pajamas. She opened it casually then froze. Taehyung stood there, panting, his hair a mess, clothes wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. Sua blinked. Sua, what happened to you? Do you have a fever or something? Taehyung didn't answer her question. His voice came out rushed. Taehyung, where's Yn? Sua raised an eyebrow. Sua, in her room. Wait, I'll go call her. She turned around and jogged up the stairs, knocked on the door. No answer. She peeked inside empty. She searched the hallway, the washroom nothing. After a minute, she returned, looking slightly annoyed. Sua, she's not in her room. Maybe she went to her friend's house already. They were talking about a sleepover or something. She sighed. That girl didn't even have her breakfast. Tell me, Taehyung, will you? But when she looked up, Taehyung was gone. The front gate was swinging slightly open in the breeze. Sua stared in confusion. Sua, kids these days, she muttered, shaking her head. She closed the door, not knowing Taehyung had just sprinted into the biggest race of his life to stop the girl he loved from doing something she'd never forgive herself for. Taehyung gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, his eyes locked on the bus ahead.Yn's bus. He slammed the accelerator harder, weaving through traffic like a man possessed. His phone rested in his lap, screen cracked from being thrown moments ago. He had tried calling her again and again, but her phone is switched off. Taehyung groaned and slammed his fist against the steering wheel. Taehyung, damn it, Yn, he growled, tossing the phone onto the passenger seat. He could barely breathe. The thought of losing her, of losing both of them, was tearing his chest apart. Inside the bus, Yn sat near the window, staring blankly at her open palm. There was no glow, no life, only the weight of her decision pressing down like a mountain. Then she heard a murmur from a man sitting behind her. Man, kids these days, trying to overtake a bus like that, he's gonna get himself killed. Yn blinked and slowly turned to the window. Her heart skipped a beat. Taehyung. His car swerved dangerously between vehicles, engine roaring. His eyes locked on the bus like a predator chasing its prey. He looked panicked, desperate, insane.Yn's chest tightened in alarm. He's going to crash at this rate. Yn, what is he doing? She whispered. Was he here to apologize, to plead with her, to come with her? Whatever the reason, this wasn't worth dying for. She stood up abruptly and rushed to the front of the bus. Yn, please stop the bus. Right now, please. The driver glanced at her in surprise but slowed down, pulling over near the sidewalk. Yn didn't wait. She climbed down, almost tripping in her rush. Her eyes searched frantically and then she saw it. Taehyung's car screeched to a halt just ahead, the tires screaming against the pavement. He threw open the door and stumbled out, chest heaving, eyes wild, and they locked eyes. Yn stood frozen on the sidewalk. He ran to her like a man starved for air, like she was his last breath. Yn, what are you doing here? Are you crazy? You could have. Taehyung, I am crazy. I've been crazy since the moment you walked out of my life last night. He stopped in front of her, panting, sweat beading his forehead, eyes burning red, not from exhaustion, but from everything he hadn't said. Taehyung, you think I could sleep knowing where you're going today? Knowing what you're going to do? His voice cracked. Taehyung, you think I could breathe without you? Yn. She looked away, arms wrapping around herself like armor. YRN, it was your decision, Taehyung. You made it clear. Taehyung, I was scared, he shouted. Luckily the street was almost empty as it's early morning. Taehyung, I was scared, and I acted like a coward, but I didn't mean a word I said, not about the baby, not about you. YRN, Taehyung, her voice trembled. He stepped closer, softer now, broken. Taehyung, I stayed up all night thinking about everything, about the mess I've made, about you, about the little life growing inside you. He touched her hand gently, trembling. Taehyung, I want it. I want both of you, and I don't want to live in a world where I lose either. Tears welled up in her eyes, blurring his face. YN, don't say this if you're not sure. Don't give me hope if you're going to run again. He cupped her face carefully, thumbs brushing her cheeks. Taehyung, I'm not running, not anymore. Taehyung, I love you. I didn't realize it before, but now I do, and it hurts. God, it hurts so much thinking about losing you. Her lips trembled, her knees felt weak. YRN, I'm scared. Taehyung, me too, but let's be scared together. Let's figure this out together. The world around them disappeared. The sounds, the people, the traffic, it all faded. It was just him, just her, and the baby between them. She collapsed into his arms, sobbing, and he held her like his life depended on it, because now, it did. They sat quietly on a wooden bench near the lake, a hidden spot Taehyung used to come to when the world got too loud. The sun had begun to rise, casting a soft gold over the water. The wind was gentle, brushing against their skin like a whisper. YRN hugged her knees to her chest, her head resting on Taehyung's shoulder. For a moment, neither spoke. Silence had never felt this safe. Taehyung, you must be cold. He slipped off his jacket and gently wrapped it around her, his scent warm, familiar. Grounding made her close her eyes for a second. YN, thank you. He turned to face her, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Taehyung, let me drop you home, okay? You should rest. She hesitated. YN, I can't go home today. I told my parents I'd stay over at a friend's place. He blinked, then nodded slowly. Taehyung, then come with me. YN, where? He smiled softly, standing up and offering his hand. Taehyung, somewhere quiet, somewhere safe, just you and me. Later, they arrived at a cabin hidden in the woods, small, cozy, wrapped in the sound of nature. No traffic, no noise, just birdsong and breeze. Inside, it smelled like pine and old books. A fireplace waited in the corner, and sunlight danced through the windows. This place belonged to Taehyung's grandfather. No one really comes here anymore except for Taehyung. He often come here with him friends and sometimes family. YN looked around, touched by how peaceful it was. She come here few times with the family. YN, I really like this place, it's beautiful. He gave a small smile. Taehyung, so are you. She blushed lightly, heart thumping. He walked over, his eyes soft. Taehyung, I want today to be about us. No worries, no decisions, just you, and me, and our little star. YN felt something flutter inside her, not just from the baby, from love, real, slow, healing love. Later that evening, they cooked together, burning the toast and laughing about it. They sat in front of the fireplace with mugs of warm tea, her legs curled under her, his arm around her shoulders. They didn't need much, not when hearts were finally speaking. Taehyung, I want more nights like this. YN, just us. She looked up at him. YN, then don't let go again. Taehyung, I won't. He leaned in slowly, brushing his lips against hers in a soft, lingering kiss that promised forever. Next morning, soft light seeped through the curtains of the quiet cabin. The air was still, only the sound of birds chirping outside and their slow, steady breathing filled the room. YN stirred gently beneath the blanket, eyes still heavy with sleep. Her hand instinctively rested on her lower stomach, where the smallest flicker of life had begun, so fragile, yet powerful enough to change everything. Taehyung was already awake, lying beside her, watching her. For the first time in days, her face looked peaceful. Carefully, as if not to startle her, he reached out and placed his hand over hers. YN blinked, her eyes open, surprised at first but then relaxed when she saw him. Taehyung, can I keep my hand here? She nodded. No words, just a heavy breath escaping her lips. Taehyung, I know it's too early to feel anything, but I want to be here, for every second, even if it's just this. His thumb brushed over the back of her hand. Yen's eyes welled up, not out of sadness but because for the first time, she didn't feel alone. Yen, are you sure, Taehyung? This changes everything. Taehyung, no, you changed everything. The baby is just proof that something beautiful started between us. A long silence followed, not uncomfortable, but full of unspoken promises. Then, Yen buried her face in his chest, letting out a shaky breath, and Taehyung held her like she was the only thing keeping him breathing. Yen stepped inside, quietly closing the door behind her. The warm chatter of her parents filled the air, a contrast to the storm brewing inside her chest. She walked in with a soft smile, trying to hold herself together. Adam, here comes our princess. Did you have fun at your friend's place? Sua, looks like she did. Just look at her, she's smiling after days. Adam, see? I told you. A little break from studying can work wonders. You should do this more often. Yen nodded lightly and settled between them on the couch, the familiar comfort of home pressing against her like a bittersweet hug. Yen, what were you two talking about? Sua, we're planning a surprise party for Taehyung. Yen, a surprise party? Why, it's not his birthday. Adam, did you forget? Your cousin brother just got accepted into the biggest university in the country. Sua, it's a big deal. Yen, he's leaving town soon, and we want to make him feel special before he goes. Yen's smile faltered, her heart dropped like a stone. Yen, cousin, brother. The words echoed in her ears, louder than any celebration. Her breath caught in her throat as realization hit her like a slap of cold water. He was leaving, for good, and he was never really hers. She stood up suddenly. Yen, I'll be in my room. Before her parents could respond, she walked away, her back straight, but her legs trembling. Yen closed the door behind her and leaned against it, her smile long gone. The sound of her parents' cheerful planning echoed faintly from the living room. She stared ahead, her eyes blank, her heart pounding. Yen, cousin, brother. Right, that's what I am to him in their eyes. And soon he'll be gone, he'll live in another city, chase his dreams, and I'll be here, hiding this truth, this life inside me. She sat on the edge of her bed, fingers nervously twisting the hem of her shirt. For the first time, the weight of the secret felt unbearable. She touched her stomach, a whisper of a touch. Yen, what am I going to do, little one? Tears slowly welled up in her eyes. She didn't even notice at first, not until the first drop hit her palm. After taking a long relaxing showers and steps inside his room dressed in sweatpants and a plain black tee, Taehyung grabbed his phone casually only for his eyes to go wide. He let out a soft gasp. Taehyung, 10 missed calls. Yen, he didn't waste a second. He called her back and she received instantly. Her voice was small, trembling. Yen, Taehyung. Taehyung, are you okay? Are you feeling sick? What happened? Yen, I'm scared. Taehyung, his heart clenched. Taehyung, why, did something happen? Yen, we're cousins, our parents will never accept us. Taehyung sighed deeply, closing his eyes, the truth pressed against his chest, but he couldn't tell her, not yet, not like this. Taehyung, that's not a big deal, we'll figure something out, I promise. Yen, how? What if they disown us? What if they don't accept our baby? We're not even financially stable. Taehyung, I will work, I'll do whatever it takes, for you, for our baby. A pause, silence thick with love and fear. Yen, but, you're going far away, the university, you worked so hard for it, that's your dream. Taehyung, it was my dream, but now, my only dream is you, and the little life growing inside you. Yen, but Taehyung, no buts, just rest now, you don't have to worry about anything, let me handle it, okay? Yen didn't answer, only exhaled shakily. Taehyung, take care. He hung up, his thumb lingering on the screen, his brows furrowed, 100 thoughts racing through his mind. But he didn't realize someone else had been standing just outside his room, frozen. Jiwoo, Taehyung's mother, stood motionless, one hand covering her mouth. She had heard everything, her eyes brimmed with shock, her breathing was shallow. Jiwoo, a baby,